going to be back, and we're going to be rambling in Proverbs. I'm calling it rambling in Proverbs because we won't be here all the time, but sometimes we'll be there. In Proverbs, unless you want to take a very simple proverb and stretch it out until it breaks, you can't really have a sermon about it. You can put them in little sermons, but I've seen people when they try to, well, this, and then they bring this verse and that verse, and pretty soon you just almost broke that proverb in two. A proverb is a proverb. It's meant to be a very quick way of teaching a fact. It's not meant to be dissected and drawn out. You know, we all understand Proverbs. We have some from the Bible that we use. We have some that we've learned from our mamas and our grandmas. But we're going to be in Proverbs 17, and we're starting with the first verse. Better is a dry morsel with quiet than a house full of feasting with strife. How many marriages would be saved if when they first got married they tattooed that on their mirror? Better to have a dry morsel and quiet than a house full of feasting with strife. How many people ruin their lives trying to get things? They no longer know each other, and so you have a house full of arguing and yelling. So this is a good proverb to teach young people. Better to have a little in quiet and harmony than to have everything you want and not be happy and have strife. Now the next one in the second verse is another bit of practical advice, and that's, there are a lot of spiritual truths in Proverbs, but most of it is practical advice from a wise spiritual leader. And practical advice is good. I know when we still had the teen talk, we did Bible and we did that, but we also told them how to get a job, how to keep a job. Because practical advice from a spiritual leader is important to young people's lives. They'll get advice from everywhere. They might as well get advice from somebody that knows where we're going and what it takes to get there. A servant who deals wisely will rule over a son who acts shamefully and will share the inheritance as one of the brothers. Do you know people that have lost everything because they acted shamefully? Didn't get, man, you know, they thought, well, you know, I'm going to get this, I'm going to do that, and guess what? Didn't work out that way. And the guy who worked in the store ends up getting the store. We've all seen this happen. But how many, way you act tells what's going to happen to you. That if you act shamefully, even if you're the boss's son, it's not going to work out in the end. This is very much like the advice I gave some of our teens, and some of them have done pretty good with it, and that's be the first one to work, the last one from work. Don't call in sick unless you're sick. I like to think that Morgan learned some things from us, because he's shown that in his life. And he wasn't always that way. And we can all learn something from Proverbs. But the thing is Proverbs is best for us to learn so we can pass it on to our grandchildren, our children, our nephews, our nieces. Because there's nobody telling them spiritual wisdom. They're not getting that. Do we complain? People complain a lot, don't we? The best of us complain. We know the Bible says to do things without grumbling and complaining. We still do it. The third verse deals with that. The crucible is for silver, and the furnace is for gold. And the Lord tests hearts. You know, do we prize silver? Yes. I love silver. I made Indian jewelry out of it. I was teaching the Indian children at the children's home how to do silver work until the Hunt brothers cornered the silver market and it went up 10, 20 times. So I sort of got out of it. But the point here is silver and gold, which are very valuable. They're very respected. Don't we all want some? Yes, we do. We like that. They epitomize things of value. And yet, silver's for the crucible. It's made to be melted. Gold is for the furnace. In the same way, the Lord tests hearts. Don't be confused when testing comes. Everything that's worth something is tested. Gold and silver is everything else. So it's the same thing. Don't be surprised. It's part of the correct process. So many people lose heart when they get tested because they weren't ready for it. And some of that is from false spiritual leaders that preach the gospel of prosperity and some of those other things. Yes, sometimes you may be like Job, and you may be the richest man in all the East. And sometimes you might be like Lazarus, eating scraps. The Bible didn't say one was more favored of God than the other. Those things don't matter. I'm going to skip 4. It's good, but I want to get down to some of the things that I think are really important. Verse 5. Whoever mocks the poor insults his maker. And do people make fun of the poor? You know, we talk a lot about racism, but there's a lot of classism. Everybody makes jokes about those poor Appalachian people. Make jokes about them poor Arkies that have 6 teeth in the whole county, you know? But the thing is, when you make fun of the poor, you're insulting God, the one who made the poor and the one who made you. It's good advice to teach people. Don't look down on the poor. And do we do that? You know, I am all for the idea that you want to go out there, work hard, do good. That's what you do. But you know what? It doesn't always work. There are some people that work hard, and never have anything. Don't look down on people just because they didn't make it. Now, if they're lazy, you can look down on that. But just because they're poor doesn't mean they're lazy. Now, here's one that I think we should all put up because this is a sin that we can get really caught up. It's the last half of 5. He who is glad at calamity will not go unpunished. Don't be glad when somebody gets theirs. That's hard to do. But you won't go unpunished. Don't be that person that's happy when disaster hits somebody, even though they justly deserve it. I think that's the message of Jesus. He told people that they were lost, but it broke his heart. I think that's enough for tonight. We just rambled through some proverbs, we got some things, just a little bit of spiritual wisdom that I think we need sometimes to sit down and not go into long, treatises, just little bits of knowledge. 9:47, and we'll do